Heritage Sports Podcast. This is going to be a good one. We're talking about who's going to be the number one overall pick for the NFL draft in 2023. It will be held by the Houston Texans. Even though the Houston Texans and the Chicago Bears are in a dogfight, the Bears are 3-13. The Texans are 2-13-1. To me, it is going to be solidified. No matter what happens, the Texans will be picking number one. So the question is, will their management be smart enough to trade out of that pick? They have proven that they have not. So to me, they're going to be picking either CJ Stroud or Bryce Young. So we're going to break these two down, and I'm going to give them actually advice. If I was the Houston Texans, I would trade out of that pick, and I would tell you who the teams they should contact or consider to trade their pick to. All right, so let's get into it. Let's talk about CJ and Bryce. CJ is out of Ohio State. Had a great game against Georgia. Bryce Young is out of Alabama. He finished and capped off his career with the Heisman the previous year and then won the Sugar Bowl against Kansas State. All right, so CJ, his 2022 stats, he threw for 3,688 yards. He had 41 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. In comparison, Bryce Young threw for 3,328 yards, 32 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Now, the interceptions are nearly identical. I think it shows that they both take care of the ball and don't turn it over. The big disparity is in the yards and the touchdowns. I completely understand Ohio State has more explosive offense than Alabama allows. Alabama, Saban is way more pro style. He's going to run the ball. He doesn't mind winning ugly. He doesn't really care about stats. So you can see the disparity in that. But when you look at it, the more explosive athlete is CJ. Now CJ is 6'3". Bryce is about 6 foot even. And it's crazy. These two kids are Cali kids. Bryce is from Pasadena, which is a suburb of Los Angeles. CJ is from Inland Empire, California, which is driving distance from Pasadena. It would not surprise me if they knew each other or knew of each other. And they're both juniors, so they've been in their lives, each other's lives, for quite some time. So I don't think it's going to be what do you call that? I don't think it's a sure thing that Bryce is going to be number one overall. That's the rumor. That's what a lot of mock drafts have him going number one overall to the Texans. Now, I think CJ's performance against Georgia, the top defense, one of the historically better college football defenses, is going to hold a lot of weight, especially going into the combine. I expect if number one pick overall is important to either one of them, I expect them to throw out the combine and have their own pro day. So that would not surprise me. Again, it depends. Especially if they're trades, it's just going to depend on what the team system is and what they want to run. If they want a more explosive offense, they're in shotgun most of the time, or they want the ability to do so, it might be CJ. If it's pro style, especially with the teams I list, they're under the center just as much, and they're running play action and boots and naked boots, it's going to be Bryce. So I'm going to break it down between those two. Now, CJ, again, is the bigger kid. He's 6'3", and just explosive athlete. I mean, he did not look to run first in the Georgia game, but he can run and make people pay with his legs. I would definitely see him doing well and having a higher ceiling than Bryce. Bryce has proven it. He's a winner. He's a Heisman winner. He can play in the system. He can play within himself and be more focused on team advancement, achievement, and not so much worry about his numbers. I'm not saying CJ does, but what I'm saying is if it's going to be a more team-orientated approach, you can do that if you have other weapons on your team. But CJ showed in the Georgia game he can actually be that athlete that makes the difference. So even with that being said, I don't think the Texans should draft either one of them at number one because they have so many holes on their team. You look at the other rookie quarterbacks from last year, you drop them in the Houston Texans organization, they still have the same record. So that's how many holes they have in their team, whether it's defense, offense, special teams. And you look at the rookie quarterbacks last year. There was Malik Willis out of Liberty. He was in Tennessee. Couldn't even finish starting out the year. He got benched. The Ritter kid out of Cincinnati has a lot of moxie. He is in Atlanta. And then Kenny Pickett, the best out of the bunch, a Pittsburgh Panther that ended up going to the Steelers. He's the best out of the bunch, but he still wouldn't have. I don't. With all the disparities on the Houston Texans, I don't see him actually being the difference in wins for the Houston Texans this season, because they're 2-13-1. So with all of that, I think they need to trade out. And I'm going to tell you the teams they need to think about. Okay, so you think about Seattle. Seattle has the number 3 pick from the Denver Broncos, okay? They can move up really easily with less draft capital. It's nothing but flipping the picks, basically, and you could throw other stuff in. So why not do that? Trade number 1, trade back, and get some pieces. With Seattle Seahawks, to me, I think they would draft Bryce Young. He has a similar offense. They have a similar offense in Seattle that they have Geno Smith playing within. Geno can be the perfect mentor and guide for the next year, 2 years as a stopgap. They have a similar offense under the center a lot. And Bryce is on the shorter side of 6 feet, very much like Russell Wilson. They have success with shorter quarterbacks. He come in that system, make throws on the schedule, and be right at home. Another team, I'm going to tell you, Tampa. Tampa is really good. They have an aging defense a little bit, especially their linebackers, but they have invested a lot in their offensive line. They've invested a lot into their receivers and their tight ends. You have Tom Brady there. You want to talk about a comparison. I'm not comparing their ability. I'm just comparing their body size. CJ is more like Tom Brady. You could fit him in, be exciting as far as more explosive plays, and really make it hard. Then there's the Washington Commanders. You're going to have a new owner, a new centerpiece quarterback. That would be great on a good football team. I think the Commanders understand and know Taylor Heineke is not it. We're done with that. It needs to not do that anymore. You also have, Carson Wentz. That's not going to work. So Commanders, left hand up. He would be a great first trade. You can bring in CJ or Bryce. That region would love them. The Saints are another good football team. They have the ability to trade one of their stopgap guys if they want, or let them go and jump up. They don't have a lot of draft capital. They don't have a first-round draft pick because they traded that to the Eagles. But it would be something to think about if they can put a package together. The Vikings. Kevin O'Connell's a second-year person. He is a great mastermind offensive coordinator. He can make his system to whoever, make it fit to whoever. Kirk Cousins is a above average quarterback, but he could be a part of the trade, or he's a professional. It happened when he was drafted by the Washington team. RG3 went first and he went in the 4th round. He understands the business, so he can definitely get paid, because that's what he is. He's a legend at the bank with his guaranteed money. Have him be there another year, 2 years if you don't trade him, and have CJ Stroud or Bryce Young come in. I think he can make either one work. Last is Carolina. Carolina's a good football team, possibly great. They kept tinkering with the quarterbacks with Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, trying to find somebody because they knew their team could be better. If they had more consistent quarterback play, they would have been in the playoffs. So those are just a quick list of teams that the Texans really need to think about. Can we make a deal with them? Can we trade back in the middle part of the round or later in the round and still get a quarterback? Because there are going to be 4 quarterbacks taken in the first round. You have CJ, you have Bryce. Those kids are going to go top 5. So if you even trade to 7 to 10, whatever, but still Will Levis out of Kentucky. He's going to go in the mid-first round to top 10. And you have the Anthony Richardson kid out of Florida that's going to go in the first round, projected to go in the first round, the second round, similar to Lamar Jackson. Either you cannot go wrong either way, or just get a stopgap guy to come in. We had Tyrod Taylor a few years ago. He's at the Giants. Why not have him come back and just take those trade assets that you get or capital that you get and fill in the holes in your team? Because the only quarterback that's going to come in and really make a difference for you is not coming in this NFL draft. It's going to be the next one. So you can put your pieces in place, see where it goes, and see if you can get Caleb Williams next year or Drake May. But these kids, they need teams around them. You're not going to just be able to drop them in and then they're going to go, 11-1. I mean, not 11-5, 11-6, whatever the case may be. Even Jalen Hurts on that great team needed a year. That's what I'm talking about. It's more of a effort to get a team around them. And the Texans haven't proven that they can even build a team. So to me, you need the assets to build a team, force yourself to build a team, and get ready to have a stopgap or take a kid that you can develop along the way. But if it was me, Texans, if I'm picking number one, I'm the person and I'm not trading out, even though I would pick CJ. He just has a higher ceiling, and he's proven to me that he can absolutely play up the competition and be a game changer for you when you need it. And when I think he's going to be able to win more games, especially early on, if he's the only person on the show. So that's just my thoughts. Please let me know your thoughts. Heritage Sports. Until next time.